Hey everyone, how's it going? I am an average cyclist and today I'm going to be doing an FTP test in Zwift. Although I made a video about how I didn't want to focus on numbers too much in 2022, I still wanted to take this FTP test for two main reasons that you likely also take the FTP test for. The first reason is to know my FTP so that when I'm training, I can train in the proper zones. I do still want to train and get more fit, and so being able to know this is very important. The second reason is also because I do enjoy doing the Zwift racing, and I want to make sure that I am in the correct group. Now currently my FTP is set at 209. I know that is too high right now. When I achieved that 209 FTP, it was in the middle of the summer and I was doing a lot of Zwift racing. And at that time, I actually started racing in the B categories. During the fall, I stopped racing as much and I was doing more long endurance rides. And I noticed then when I tried to do some races, I was having a hard time keeping up. And in fact, my results ended up having me go back down into the C category. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that because I thought maybe I was sandbagging, but I really was doing all-out efforts and not being able to stay with the B group and being in a power zone that's more in align with the C categories. Now, right now when I race, I am at the top of what the C category should be right before you get to the B category. I'm a very lightweight guy. I weigh about 126 pounds. That's about 57 point something kilograms. And so my watts per kilogram is usually between 3.4 and 3.5. But my power that I am producing in these races, the average power, the 20-minute power, is below this 200-watt threshold that Zwift Power says should be your minimum power for a B category. I will admit that I probably didn't come into this test in the right mindset. And coming into this test into the right mindset is going to be very important. As I mentioned, my FTP is at 209, but I know I'm at a lower threshold than that. When I thought about what type of wattage I wanted to sustain for 20 minutes, I was actually going for a number higher than that 209 FTP. And that was a mistake. I should have gone with what I knew and said, okay, I'm probably not at 209 anymore. I'm at a little bit below. Perhaps try to sustain a max power for 20 minutes of 210. And then if I'm feeling good with 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go, that's when you push it up. Instead, as you'll see what I do later on, I started at a power that was too high and I couldn't sustain it throughout the entire race. Right now, I am just doing the warm-up. It's not very interesting, and so I'm actually going to fast forward to get to the actual test. I will show the entirety of the 20-minute FTP test, but feel free to fast forward to the end if you just want to see what the results are. Okay, here we are. We're about to start the 20-minute FTP test. I will admit, when I first started, I didn't have my gear ratios correct. I was in the small ring up front, and so I had to shift to the big ring, and then I had to figure out what I wanted my cadence to be and what power I was trying to go for. Now, the power that I was hoping to achieve for 20 minutes average was 225. As I actually started, I realized this might not be possible, and so I was actually going for about 220 then. You can see in the first couple minutes, I was averaging between 210 and 230 watts. My cadence was 85. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have a high cadence, like in the 90s or the hundreds, or if I wanted a cadence in the 85s. I know that recently with Zwifting, and especially in Zwift racing, I felt most comfortable with the cadence of about 85, maybe close to 90, but typically at an 85, and that's what I decided to go with right here. Outside, I actually have a cadence that I'm more comfortable with in the 90s. So I wanted to talk here at about the 11.5 minute mark, because this is when I started to die and I couldn't hold that average watts of 220 that I was hoping to. Based on the graph below, you can see I have yellow spikes, but I have a lot of red spikes in there. And now you're seeing it just dip into the yellow as I'm realizing I can't hold this for another 11 minutes. It was really disappointing at that moment. I kind of got into my head there. And you can see that my watts are starting to go below 200. I tried really hard to make sure that I was keeping it above 200 watts. This was actually also at the moment that I really thought about quitting and being like, why am I doing this? But I did push myself through it. That is part of cycling, or I should say any kind of fitness. If you want to gain strength, you need to be able to accept pain and push through it. And obviously, I want to make sure I'm clear. By pain, I don't mean like injury pain. It's not like my knee was hurting or my muscles, or I should say, my muscles were burning, but I'm not having like knee pain or any kind of that pain. That's different. It's just exhaustion of what I'm pushing through. So again, yeah, you can see now, there I am in yellow. You even see some of the green in there. We'll continue on till the end of the FTP test here. Okay, here we are with about 1 minute left in the FTP test. And as you can see, my average wattage has dropped to about 215 watts. In this last minute, I am giving it everything I have. And I know in FTP tests, they always say, give it all you have at the end. I was really giving it all my all. You can see my heart rate is creeping up towards 180. That's the danger zone for me, or as in I can't hold this very long. So as you can see, it says my FTP is now 205 watts. As I mentioned previously, it was 209 watts. At the moment, I was like, ah, crap. But when you actually think about it, the difference between 205 and 209 is not that much. And so when thinking about it later on, I'm like, okay, you know what? That's not bad. That's okay. The fact that I'm there is good. I actually didn't think I was going to be able to hold over 200 watts. Now, when it comes to Zwift racing, what this means is that I am going to be racing in the B category, even though Zwift Power has me in the C category. I am above that 200 watts threshold, and since I am a small guy, just to describe myself a little bit, I'm 5'5", about 125 pounds or 57 kilograms. I actually think it's like 57.3 or 4. It puts me at a watts per kilogram FTP of 3.5, 3.6. So I will be racing in the B category. I will be pushing myself to keep up with everyone there, likely getting dropped. But you know what they say? If you want to get faster, ride with a fast group. And so you can look forward to seeing those races. You can watch them up until I get dropped. Likely what will happen is I'll try to keep up with them as much as possible, drop back to the lead C group, hope that I can catch their wheel and stay on it, and then fight for a finish at the end there, hoping to improve my sprint. So thanks for watching. I hope everyone's 2022 is off to a great year. If you've recently done an FTP test, let me know in the comments. And I look forward to sharing more with you as I go through my fitness goals.